I'm excited because ever since Magnezone came out, I was like, this card looks cool. I want to play it. And then I think it was it Charlotte Regionals where a bunch of people played it, but no one made day 2 with it?
That's sounds about right. I know it was similar in Malmo as well, where a bunch of people played it, but it took a few day 2 spots, but none of them really made it all the way through to the very end, and the final ended up being just Zoroarks.
Yeah, well, Leonardo's looking to change the stigma on this deck. And doing really well with it here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I believe in him. You know, I'm sure he can do it. So, and it looks like Leonardo will be going first, and he will be starting things off with.
Look at that animation.
Yeah, so starting things off with a Dustman, Necrozma in the active, and a Magnemite on the bench. So that's a really good start already.
Yeah, and a Cynthia as well. And looking at the records, both these players are 5-1-1. So technically, this is a win in it, because they could just ID next round. But they're right on the cusp.
Yeah, they're right on the cusp. So both of these players are going to be absolutely itching to make sure that one of them wins and that this game doesn't end up a tie.
Yeah, one thing I want to look for is the field blower count.
So I do believe I can find it here.
There's 3.
There's 3, right? Okay.
All right, that's what Leonardo needs against Pablo, because Pablo is like, all right, here playing Magnezone, I need this Garbotoxin active right now.
Yes, and absolutely, Leonardo finding his field blowers will be the key to him being able to take the advantage in this matchup and actually be able to run through Pablo's side, whilst also making sure that he doesn't play too many items. Of course, this is the problem when you're up against ability lock. You're normally more reliant on other means of powering through your deck more quickly, and then that just fuels Trashalanche.
Yeah, Trashalanche, just such a scary attack, especially later on in the game. Thankfully for Leonardo, a lot of his metal Pokemon are resistant to Psychic, so early game might not be that good. Just depends how his draw goes.
Yeah, and that will be one saving grace for him, and that essentially he can get away with playing one more item than perhaps against other decks because of that resistance that he has. Now, it looks like Leonardo didn't do that much after the Cynthia, just pretty much passing afterwards, and now Pablo will take his turn. Looks like he's playing an Ultra Ball, discarding an Espeon GX and a Field Blower.
Yeah, I think he Tapu Lele'd, but maybe his Bridget was prized. Oh no, it's not. So he probably got like the Sycamore in his hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And so off that Ultra Ball, looks like, well, what did he get off that? It's like, oh, an Eevee, okay. So I imagine if he has a Psychic Energy in his hand, he would quite like to, use that Energy Evolution ability and so get out that Espeon GX straight away. Maybe even try to use Psybeam to confuse the Dustman Necrozma. It'll only do 10 damage, but still decent.
Yeah, well, when you confuse something with 3 Retreat, it's kind of hard to get out of the active spot.
Exactly. Now, that was a pretty good draw to Sycamore as well. He wasn't able to find a Psychic Energy, but he's got a Trashalanche Garbodor in hand. He's got double colorless too, so he can start powering things up, and it's going to put the Float Zone onto the active.
I don't see a supporter for next turn, though.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh, so that's not so good, actually. And it looks like his best option now, then, is just attach double colors and a Choice Band to the Tapu Lele and just announce Energy Drive.
Yeah, Energy Drive will be able to bypass that resistant on Dustman Necrozma GX, dealing that 90 damage, but this is Leonardo's turn. If he can get Rare Candy Magnezone and 3 energy attached to the active, he could take a knockout before Pablo even gets a chance to put Garbotoxin in play.
Yeah, and that's exactly how he'll be able to take the advantage in this game if he's able to do that. Now, he has got a bit of a decision here. He's got the Magneton in his hand, which he could opt to maybe play, but no, he's going to go for the risk.
You got to go for it. You're here 5-1-1. 1 win essentially locks up your day 2. You're going for that turn 2 Magnezone.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And he's clearly agreed as well, because he is going for the N, and he is just looking for Rare Candy, Magnezone, Energy. That's it.
Thankfully for Pablo, though, he's like, oh, thank goodness he end.
That's the other thing as well. It has worked out quite nicely for Pablo in that sense that he will be able to see a fresh hand. Hopefully for him, one of the supporters, so he's able to do more drawing next turn. But let's have a look here. What does Leonardo get?
This is an important 6 cards.
Drum roll, please.
Oh, Professor's Letter could be a good sign.
That-
Maybe get some energy to Ultra Ball away and then Mount Coronet, put him back in your hand.
That's would be absolutely amazing. Mount Coronet is actually one of my favorite cards in this entire archetype. So it's such a strong stadium card.
We haven't really seen anything like it, too.
No.
I think, like Power Tree was like something close to it where you just get an energy, put it in your hand. But just the ability to get 2 metal energy from your discard. And just go, yeah, that's pretty good.
Not only that, but with Power Tree, there was a restriction on it where if you had any special energy on your discard pile, you couldn't even use it. This just lets you get back 2 metal energy whenever you want, and it doesn't matter if you've got special energy in discard, you can still use it. It's an absolutely insanely strong stadium, but...
Oh, looks like the Ultra Ball gets the Magnemite. Does not signal that he has that Magnezone Rare Candy this turn.
No, but even then, still using the Professor's Letter to get the 2 metal energy and then using the Ultra Ball to discard them is still fine because he can use that Mount Coronet later.
Oh, and he can use Radiant Star.
Yes, he can.
Solgaleo Prism Star gets that 2 energy from his discard that he just discarded, attach it to a fresh Duskmane Necrozma.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Jeremy, but to me, I think the Solgaleo Prism Star is hands down the best Prism Star card in Ultra Prism for like what it enables you to do in terms of turns like this and the amount of energy acceleration it offers you is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, it's insane, and I don't think there's any card that even comes close. None of the cards are even played except for this Solgaleo.
No, exactly. I mean, the Lunala Prism Star does do the same thing, but there's been nothing like good enough to pair it with to want to attach those psychic energies. So by that virtue alone, the Solgaleo ends up winning out there. But yeah, an absolutely insane card. Now, we're back to Pablo's turn. He has a Tapu Lele GX. That's so you obviously drew that off of Leonardo's end, so that's good for him. And there will be the Wonder Tag for, is that Cynthia?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And choosing not to evolve the Trubbish into that Trashlanch Garbodor because, you know, that's not very good until later in the game.
No.
Garbotoxin is what you need.
Yeah, he absolutely recognizes the importance of getting that Garbotoxin Garbodor out as quickly as possible, especially since Leonardo wasn't able to find the Magnezone during his turn 2. So Pablo could potentially lock out Leonardo from being able to do his ability, his acceleration ability at all before... And there is an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, Ultra Ball could get that Garbotoxin online. He would have to discard a few resources to do it.
But surely it's worth it at this point, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's just a matter of deciding what the best thing to discard is. He does have both a Sycamore and an N, so he could decide to keep both of those and then just decide what the best supporter out of those two is to play next turn when Leonardo's done his stuff. And it looks like that's what he's going to go for. Or maybe not.
So it's awkward because Guzma is such a powerful card right now with the 90 damage on that Duskmane on the bench. And especially if Leonardo gets the Magnezone, it's also a card they're like, well, I need to buy a couple turns. All right, I'll bring up Magnezone and then maybe like divide GX some other cards.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's another thing that's important to mention as well. Divide GX is something that Leonardo always has to be aware of because it is something that can just sort of come in out of nowhere at one point and just take some unexpected KOs or things to the bench and then potentially leave Leonardo with nothing. So it's something that Leonardo just needs to be thinking of in the back of his mind.
Yeah, Pokemon is a game where you usually try to think like 2 or 3 turns ahead. And if you don't, you're going to have a real bad time.
Yeah, you are, absolutely. So speaking of Guzma, there is one from Leonardo's side. So he will be bringing up the Trubbish onto the bench, obviously fearing a future Trashalanch. And are we going to just see another... Oh, no, he's just using it as a means of buying himself some time. Maybe going to go for another Radiant Star or even just pass.
Wow, this ability lock is really hurting Leonardo right now. Can't really see what's in his hand, but anytime you just Guzma and pass, it's never really what you want to see.
No, it's definitely not a good sign in the slightest. And Pablo he's played a Sycamore. He's not seen anything too impactful off of that. Some more energy is always nice, of course, but nothing really that's going to sort of further cement his position in a really, really strong way. It'd be interesting to see what he actually goes for in terms of attacks this turn. The float stone is obviously pretty important because that means he can attack with something. But what's even the best attacker to go for here?
Honestly, Divide GX seems super strong right now. You can either have the option of taking out a Magnemite and getting around that ability to protect it on the bench, I believe, right? Just prevents damage.
Yeah.
Or you can even just put all 10 on that Duskmane and take the knockout there. But that's also something you want to watch out for because then it turns on Sun's Eclipse GX.
Yes, it does, which of course mean it's a attack. It's a Dustmane Necrozma's GX attack, which does how much damage does it do exactly? Is it
250 damage?
So 250, which will knock out absolutely anything in Pablo's deck, but it does actually look like that's the option.
Yeah, he's just doing all 10 there, taking the knockout, figuring, well, I can either knock out the Magnemite or knock out this. Knocking out this seems a lot better.
Yeah, and the only thing here is, like we already mentioned now, he does have to worry about the Sun's Eclipse because that Dustmane Necrozma on the bench is only 1 energy away from being able to do that. It's, of course, takes 1 energy less than Meteor Tempest, which is normally, it's always one of the attacks you want to do in order to take your 6 prizes, especially because normally these Stage 2 decks tend to fall behind anyway. But it looks like
looking at his hand, that is not good. There's no energy in the discard. Mount Coronet is useless right now. Bridget, not very good.
No. There is actually 1 energy in the discard pile because there was one on the Dustmane.
Oh, that is right.
Which got KO'd. But even then, 1 is not
like
really...
You can't get the Solgaleo Prism Star out of the active, so you're going to Radiant Star it anyway.
Yeah, and so that's really Leonardo's biggest issue right now is how do I move this really bulky Solgaleo out the active so I can bring up the Dustmane Necrozma and actually get an attack.
Ultra Ball getting the Remoraid out, but again, under that Garbotoxin lock, can't really do much.
No, he's obviously more just doing this just to get it out of his deck because drawing that for turn obviously doesn't help him at all. So he'd just rather have it out and... Now with the rest of his hand, it doesn't look like he's still going to do much, and nope, he just passes.
Wow, and there you have it. This Garbotoxin putting in work. He could have gotten the Tapu Lele, but nope, doesn't work.
No, I mean, he could bench it. It wouldn't do anything, but he could do that, and that's happened many a times in tournaments, I'm sure, where people have been, chaps, there's sort of slip of the mind and didn't realize that the Garbotoxin was active, and then thought, oh, well, I guess that Tapu Lele is...
Look at this.
Oh!
Kuzma on the Duskmane Necrozma on the bench with 2 energy, and Pablo looks like he might attack with the Tapu Lele. Probably the best option, dealing the most damage. But bringing up that Garbodor just because it has that float zone with free retreat.
Yeah, absolutely the best option for Pablo right now, given that the Espeon is kind of a little bit spent at this point, and even if it wasn't, I mean, he could do Psychic with it, but then, of course, Psychic doesn't ignore Dustmane Necrozma's resistance. Tapu Lele does, and the Tapu Lele has a choice band on.
Yeah. You could go for that side beam. Just have him flip a bunch of tails with confusion.
Yeah, that is true as well, especially given that we know that Leonardo doesn't have too many retreating options to work with right now. But it does look like the Tapu Lele is the option that Pablo's going to go with. And there's the energy drive.
And it's such a great option. Quick 2-hit, especially if he doesn't get that energy, which we know he actually does have access to Mount Coronet.
Yeah, but of course, Pablo couldn't have predicted that from the basis of what Leonardo did before. So now at this point, Leonardo will play the Mount Coronet. He'll be able to use it to get back the Metal Energy, and he will be able to use Sun's Eclipse GX for the knockout on the Tapu Lele, but then Pablo just KOs him back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's because he has... Well,
he'll have the 3 energies, so he'll do 130 with Espeon GX.
Exactly, so and that will definitely be enough to pick up the 2-hit knockout. Oh, actually, Leonardo sees a Skylar. So, yeah.
So it's not as good because he'll have to get a supporter with it.
No, because if he had an Octillery in play, then he could get Field Blower instead and obviously use Abyssal Hand, but that's not the case, so going to have to just Skylar for another supporter instead. But even then, that's better than nothing, right?
Oh, yeah. He'll still hopefully be set up for next turn, but he's going to have to fight this Espeon GX that will take the return KO.
Yeah, and I think the important thing for him is that with the Sycamore in hand, he will be more likely to be able to do that because he can then play it, perhaps see a Rare Candy Magnezone Field Blower, and all of a sudden, he can actually get the KO on the Espeon.
There's the energy, and we will see a Sun's Eclipse GX taking the knockout, 250 damage.
Absolutely obscene. And yeah, 2 prizes from Leonardo's side as Pablo just promotes the Garbodor and now just needs to decide what he wants to do before attacking.
I think that's the thing that's unfair about Garbodor decks is they just always have a free retreater to promote. Like, I'm always going to have Floatstone in play. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and that's exactly why sometimes where, you're forced into that awkward spot where you have to attach a choice band to a Garbodor, for example, just because you really need to shut off abilities, then that's something that the really, really good players will prey on. Use maybe a Guzma to bring up that choice band to Garbodor and actually just run the opponent out of cards and get a sneaky win that way.
A good old corner tactic.
Indeed. So there goes the Psychic Energy onto the Tapu Lele onto the bench. Up comes the Espeon, and yeah, we're just going to see a Psychic for the knockout here, I presume.
All right, 2 Duskmane Necrozma down. 1 to go for Pablo here to take game 1 and move even closer to day 2.
Indeed, and now this is going to be the big turn for Leonardo. He does decide to bring up the Solgaleo Prism Star. Kind of tells me he maybe doesn't have much to work with right now. He has got a Rescue Stretcher.
He actually had the Rare Candy Ultra Ball in his hand as well.
But of course it got end away.
No, it's in his hand right now.
It is in his hand. Okay. But what happened to his Sycamore?
He got a Cynthia instead.
Oh, he got Cynthia instead. Okay, right. So, yeah, there goes the Rescue Stretcher then. He's going to be shuffling in a couple of his Duskmane Necrozmas. So, he's going to probably just try playing out as much of his hand as possible after doing this, and then, yeah, just go for the Cynthia, hoping to see that wonderful combo of Field Blower plus... He needed... How many energy would he need? He needed quite a lot.
Yeah, so, he has the Mount Coronet.
He does.
That's 2.
That's he hasn't part of the way there already.
But he needs 4 total. So, I don't know. He could do maybe Field Blower play, get rid of the Floatstone, and then his own Mount Coronet after using it, play another Mount Coronet.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But
remember, he also needs a way to retreat the Solgaleo out of the active.
Yeah, that's the other problem for him as well. This is going to be... can he even do it off of 6 cards? I'm not sure if mathematically that's actually viable or not. He's got 1 Metal Energy, and he's got an Energy Retrieval, actually.
But no Magnezone to go with that Rare Candy in his hand.
No. Very, very unfortunate. Almost there, but not quite. I think Pablo might have this now. I think on the basis of that miss, yeah, he can go to the Radiant Star at least, so that's not the worst turn, but now Pablo could just take 2 very quick knockouts, and at that point, I'm not sure if Leonardo can take two prize knockouts quickly enough to seal out the game.
Yeah, I also wonder how many items Leonardo has played this game, because that Trashlands Garbodor is looming on the bench with that energy. Just put me in, coach. Put me in.
Yeah, put me in and just let me sweep through the rest of my opponent's field. Now there goes down another Trubbish, it looks like, onto Pablo's bench, just in case the 1 Trash Launch wasn't enough. And then it looks like it's going to be just a Psychic, so just an attack.
Yeah, so Solgaleo Prism Star tanking a little bit thanks to its 160 HP and Psychic resistance.
Yeah, it's really cool that it's and it only gives that 1 prize as well.
Oh.
Big find for Leonardo. Now he can really get the ball rolling. Not only that, but don't forget that Magneton is out now, so he doesn't even need Rare Candy. He just needs to find the Magnezone, and he will be able to attach as many energies he likes.
Does he have it, though? It looks like he has an N. Or no, Skyla.
He
does have an N, too.
He does, but Skyla will do it, because absolutely he just finds either I believe he's playing Heavy Ball, right? Well, he's playing Ultra Ball in any case, so he just finds that, and then...
But you have to think about it. If he's forced to get like an Ultra Ball, that's another item. Maybe he has to discard a few items in his hand as well. And again, just once you reach that number, there's no going back.
No, absolutely not. And that's going to be the potentially tricky thing for him to circumnavigate. Meanwhile, he does actually opt to go for the N instead of the Skyla, maybe thinking to himself, if I find a Magnezone, then all I need, well, that's everything I need, because then I can just get 2 energy back with Mount Coronet, attach them to Solgaleo, and just manually retreat. Or I can hit a Floatstone.
Yeah, we'll see. He does draw 4 cards compared to Pablo's 2. And this is... Oh, double N off Pablo's 2 from the N.
Very, very, very interesting there. He's got...
I think that was a Magnemite, not a Magnezone.
Oh, misses the Magnezone again.
Yeah, wow. And I think we just see another pass.
It's going to have to be. Gosh, that's really not ideal. And yeah, he did indeed just pass. And but Pablo just played an N straight away.
Yeah, so the one thing about this Espeon Garbodor deck is, since you're not playing consistency cards like Octillery, like Oranguru, and like Zoroark, you really just kind of get punished by these late game ends, especially if you have that ability to lock up.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So, and that's pretty much what we're seeing here, kind of. But I think in the end, Pablo still has enough to see him through the rest of this. And
Looking at that hand, there is the Magna Zone and a Professor's Letter as well.
that's pretty ideal. And now, yeah, Pablo wasn't able to find another tool, was he?
No, I don't think so.
So it's just going to be a retreat, actually, into the Trash Avalanche.
Well, this is smart because Dustmane's really good at knocking out GX and EX
Yeah.
Pokemon. It's not so good knocking out one-prize attackers.
Yeah, if you're discarding free energy to really, do way too much damage more than you need to KO one prize attacker, that's mathematically that's not going to work out well for you. So absolutely, that was definitely the right decision there from Pablo. But in terms of what Leonardo does, and I think he even recognizes that promoting the Dustmane Necrozma just doesn't make much sense right now. Just opts to bring up the Magnemite.
Yeah, well, especially if he does have access to a Guzma.
Which he will do from the Tapu Lele.
Hey.
There it is. So he'll be able to find a Guzma with that and be able to bring up the Espeon and knock out in one hit. Fantastic.
Espeon, but at this point, I might even that Tapu Lele is looking pretty tasty to take out.
Yeah, it is as well. I mean, that's especially the more energy that Leonardo ends up leaving on, that can do more damage too. So that's it's tricky either way, right? Because Pablo only has one more prize left to take, so there's lots of slim pickings that he can go for. Pablo could even just KO the Remoraid, for example, and win that way.
Yeah, looking at Pablo's hand, though, he does not have a Guzma. It's just double Cynthia Super Rod.
Oh, dear. I mean, Cynthia is obviously better than nothing. At least he can still draw cards, but yeah, that's not the game-winning combination he needs.
Does Leonardo have... Oh, yeah. Okay, there's the Guzma. Bringing up the Espeon. I guess the Psybeam would probably be the attack that he would try to go for, and that's really annoying to play around.
Yeah, so bearing that in mind, he just thinks that the Espeon will be the most important thing to deal with straight away. And actually, he preemptively attaches an extra energy as well. This is quite clever, because this now means that if Garbotoxin comes back online again, it'll take less time to charge up a second Meteor Tempest.
Yeah, I would like it if you could get one more, because then you don't even need abilities. You're like, all right, 4th energy next turn, let's go.
Yeah, and I'm sure he should be able to do that as well, surely, because he has got that Mount Coronet out, and I don't believe that his discard pile is empty.
There we go.
Okay, well, he has one in his hand anyway. So, yeah, that is very, very smart from Leonardo, so he will be able to use Meteor Tempest, discard free energy, and 2 more prizes for him. Can Pablo find his last prize to seal out the game?
Choice Band. Now the question is, how many items are in the discard for Leonardo?
Yeah, and I think they're going to do a quick count now. I mean, to me, the fact that Pablo's playing the Cynthia tells me not enough to get the KO just yet. But there's... I was going to say maybe he could Field Blow or some way, but there's actually no tools for Pablo to discard on Leonardo's side, so that's not an option either.
Essentially, he's like, all right, I got this one prize attacker. Hope you don't draw a Guzma and a way to retreat.
Yeah. In fact, could Pablo be considering Acid Spray here? Acid Spray plus a tool, although he doesn't find a tool to reactivate Garbotoxin. That's unfortunate. Because
choosing to attach the Choice Band to the active.
Yeah, absolutely. Because maybe he could have, if it with that double colorless, he could have maybe gone Acid Spray, then put Garbotoxin back online, and all of a sudden Leonardo can't do Meteor Tempest again.
Well, it's a little bit of a stretch.
It is a bit of a stretch, but
you try to find any route to victory.
Yeah, and actually that's big as well. Pablo finding the Parallel City, able to discard some of. Actually, there's no GXs now left on Pablo's bench, so Leonardo cannot win next turn.
Okay, that was the card he needed.
Yeah, that was very, very important. If he wasn't able to win that turn with Garbodor, then yeah, he absolutely needed to get rid of that. So I believe it was a Tapu Lele on his own bench. So now a Guzma won't win Leonardo the game.
And yeah, he'll be able to deal damage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Not enough.
So that's 150 minus 20, 130.
Yes, indeed.
But you know what is enough? Another one next turn.
Yes, it is, which is why I'm sure, although it's not optimal efficiency in terms of prizes to energy discard ratio, he will be wanting to take down that Trash Avalanche Garbodor as quickly as possible.
Leonardo does get the Octillery finally in play. And looking at his hand, seems pretty good. It has that energy retrieval, but again,
That's another item.
it's just another item. And I think he would be what? No, this means that if Pablo gets another Choice Band, a Garbodor, and a Guzma, he could take out a Lele.
Yes, it does.
Again, it's still stretching. It's a lot of cards,
yeah.
but
Although he wouldn't go for that anyway, because if Pablo's able to do that, he has access to Guzma. He'll just bring up the Octillery. He only has one
That's
prize
true.
left.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that with Leonardo.
But you got a style on some people.
Yeah, that's true. And I think this is Leonardo recognizing that he doesn't create more of a threat for himself by playing that energy retrieval, which is why he's okay to do so. And it looks like he might be considering attacking with Magnezone.
Yeah, I have to say I do not know what Magnezone's attack is.
I believe it just does
like 80?
Yeah, 80 and then switch. It's
old gyro ball type effect.
Yeah, a lot of Magnezones have attacks called gyro balls. I think statistically that's a safe attack name to go with.
Zap Cannon.
Oh, okay, all that.
130, the perfect way to knock out a Garbodor.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. I think you're thinking of an older Magnezone. I think we were where there was definitely an older Magnezone which had gyro ball.
Like 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
and he's just going to manually retreat here, bring up that Magnezone, and use Zap Cannon.
yeah, with that Mount Coronet, he has enough energy to do it, and that's going to be Zap Cannon for KO. Incredible.
Perfect. All right, Zap Cannon. Now it's 1-to-1 prize, and Pablo does not draw much of anything.
My goodness.
His hand is energy and Pokemon, and that is the game because just manually retreat, Mount Coronet, attach more energy to Dustmane, take the knockout.
And so Leonardo takes game 1 against Pablo Meza.
Wow, just trying to fight against this Garbotoxin lock. Finally breaks the lock, finally finds the Magnezone, and only a few attacks later, it's like, well, what are you going to do, man?
Yeah, and not only that, but against, as we already mentioned, an incredibly decorated player. Pablo, one of the best players in Mexico, probably
Probably in the game right now, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, incredibly accomplished, incredibly skilled, and that's a really, really impressive game 1 win.
Yeah, one thing about Pablo, he definitely shows all his emotions on his face, and you can see he's just disappointed. He's like, I'm so close that game. 1 prize, and then you start getting in your head like, what could I have done differently? What am I doing? Like, let's try to plan this out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it just did not end up working out. So Pablo's going to really want to try and not make a repeat of that, and just in game 2, maybe just try and plan things out a bit differently. But even then, I mean, Pablo played it very well. I mean, there wasn't really. It wasn't really that it came down to him making some huge mistake which meant it cost him the game. They just both played really well, and Leonardo ended up managing to squeeze it just at the end.
Well, it came down to that one play where Leonardo's debating between Skyla and the N.
Yes, exactly.
And chose to N, and Pablo just drew 2N.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then he played one of them, but still didn't see much of that either. So, yeah, very, very wise decision between those two from Leonardo's side. Now, he has got a mulligan for his first draw here. We did see Pablo's prizes, but nothing too bad. A mixture of supporters.
One of each supporter, maybe an energy, and I think Trash Lanch was in there.
Yeah, so but he does play 2 of each, so that's not too much of an issue. It'll be very interesting to see what Leonardo ends up prizing. He had a mulligan first, but it looks like he's got a basic now, so we'll be able to take a look at, let's see what goes into the prizes. Artillery's not ideal, 1 Mount Coronet is not great either, but it's enough of a spread of things where it's probably okay.
I think it is just a 1-1 Artillery line in his list.
Okay.
But if his opponent's going to have Garbotoxin active most of the game, then it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, so I guess it could be worse, essentially. And
starting that Eevee, though, that's what Pablo wants to see.
Yeah, and he's got a Tapu Lele GX ready to go as well, so we'll be able to use that Wonder Tag for... He actually will go for the turn 1 Bridget this time.
And he does have the Psychic in hand, along with a Trubbish, Garbotoxin, and a Floatstone.
Unbelievable. That's an incredibly strong start from him.
I also think there's like a Cynthia in his hand as well.
Can't ask for much better than that. So Pablo will then be going for that Bridget, and looks like he's going to be getting 2 Trubbishes and an Eevee. Of course, in the last game, he didn't have another supporter in hand, which is why he, or at least not a draw supporter, which is why he opted to not go for the turn 1 Bridget. But given that he has one now, he's just able to get this incredibly strong start. And there goes the Espeon.
Yeah. Eevee with Energy Evolution, again, just legal ways to cheat the game. It's so good.
Yeah, it's just able to, when you attach a basic energy to it, it can evolve to an evolution of like that same type. So attach a basic psychic, you can evolve to Espeon GX straight away, even on turn 1. It's too good.
And there we see a pass. What a turn from Pablo, with his hand being a Floatstone, Garbotoxin, and a Sycamore.
Pretty much like not much else you can ask for other than that. That's absolutely brilliant.
Like, I don't think he could have like picked a better hand, like just picking his actual 7 cards.
I think you're probably right there. Meanwhile, from Leonardo's side, his start is pretty decent as well. He has got the turn 1 Bridget off of the Tapu Lele, so he'll be able to find himself a couple of Magnemites, maybe even get out that Solgaleo Prism Star, which was so useful to him last game, or either that or maybe a second Dustmane Necrozma. Looks like he's opting just for 2 Magnemites, maybe? I didn't see the Solgaleo in his deck, so it might already be in his hand.
It's in his deck. Yeah.
Oh, it is in his deck. Okay. No, I know it's not in the prizes, but I was saying I didn't like when he flicked through the deck. I didn't see it. So
Yeah, it was in there.
Oh, it was in there. Okay.
I think he's just scared of a turn 2 Divide GX, kind of putting pressure on like the 2 Magnemite he gets. So getting 3, making sure like I have to get this Magneton out.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense then. So now he's actually filled up his bench entirely. So pretty much eschewing benching the Solgaleo Prism Star at this point, thinking maybe he'll end up using it later on instead. But again, that absolutely perfect hand from Pablo, able to evolve into the Garbotoxin, attach the Floatstone, and then Sycamore the rest away.
And he gets the double colorless energy.
That is absolutely, as Ross Gilbert might say, absolutely ridiculous.
And he even has just amazing cards for next turn. He got
Yeah.
another Ultra Ball, could even get another Garbotoxin out. And has the Sycamore. Man, Pablo's putting on a clinic this game.
Yeah. Putting on a clinic is exactly the right term for it. And he's actually just going straight away for the Divide GX.
It'll be interesting to see where he chooses to spread out the damage.
Okay. So he's opting not to target down the Magnezones, thinking to himself, I don't really need to target them down when, I've got Garbotoxin up. And actually, the math here is really, really clever.
All right, I'm really bad at math, so you got to explain it to me and all the viewers.
Okay, so what he's done here is he's placed 4 on each of the Dustmane Necrozmas and 2 onto the Tapu Lele. That means that all of them have 150 HP left, which is a number that, depending on how many energies attached to each of those, Espeon can then pick up the knockout.
That is right. Yeah.
With Psychic. So, and not only that, but it means that 6 items plus Choice Band, or well, actually it'll be 7 because of the resistance, will pick up the knockout as well. So it's actually really, really clever damage placement from Pablo on this Divide.
All right, and I believe Leonardo played a Cynthia, really searching for that Rare Candy Magnezone, but also now needs a Field Blower and a few more energy. Has the Rare Candy Magnezone, but no Field Blower.
No, but even so, the fact he's able to get out the Magnezone so much earlier is going to bode well for him. He even has the Skylar in his hand, ready for next turn, so he can just crank out that Field Blower. But then he doesn't have any energy to follow up with, so maybe that might not be the best idea.
Missing that crucial energy cards. He does play 11 of them. A far cry from earlier on today where there was 16.
that was really something. From Pablo's side, we actually just see him play a Guzma, bringing up the damaged Dustmane Necrozma GX, which already has 2 energy on it. Now, I'm not sure if he's able to pick up the KO just yet. Psychic won't be enough because it will only be doing 120 right now. Or we rather 100 after resistance. But it's still potentially something.
Chooses to get the second Espeon GX up with that Ultra Ball. Retreats, and he will have access, or he played the Guzma. Okay.
Yes,
so
yeah, he did.
Next turns for Sycamore. That's next turn.
Yeah, and there is the Psychic, and yeah, unfortunately, because Leonardo did not attach enough energy, not able to make use of that clever placement of damage with working out with the maths to be able to pick up the knockout, but still softening it up decently for a follow-up attack. Now, what can Leonardo do here?
So his hand was kind of anemic. It was double Ultra Ball Skyla and a Magnezone, I believe, as well, to where he might just be forced to Skyla for a supporter for next turn and pass.
Which is really, of course, not ideal in the slightest.
Oh, not at all.
Now, Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, now I see the Solgaleo Prism Star on the deck. I must have just completely glossed over it before. But
It's fine. They're all metal Pokemon.
yeah, it is.
It's confusing.
All the grey blends into each other. And exactly like you said, Jeremy, he does indeed play the Skylo and just go for a Professor Sycamore. And he drew a Bridget for turn as well, which is really not great either. Now, I think what I do here, if I'm Leonardo, I'm thinking of just grabbing a Magneton, because I have the Magnezone in hand anyway, so I can just evolve.
Why not?
Yeah.
Like,
evolve it up, and then just the next turn I can play the Magnezone and just go for the Sycamore. And yeah, that's exactly what he does.
yeah, unfortunately, the no energy means he's not going to attack for another turn.
No, indeed he's not. Although, given that he will have access to the Sycamore next turn, he should hopefully see enough energy to be able to do something.
As long as he draws a Field Blower.
As long as he draws a Field Blower, of course. Yeah, that's true as well. Especially, I guess, the other problem for Leonardo is that this Dustmane Necrozma Reactive is not very long for this world. It is definitely going to be KO'd by this Espeon. And so he's only going to be left with one Dustmane Necrozma on the field after that. So ideally, he would also like to find a second.
All right, Pablo, you can calm down a little bit. You know? Gets a bunch of energy so he can charge up the Espeon again on the bench. Has access to Guzma, Cynthia the next turn. Double Cutlass in his hand. Man, he is drawing so well this game.
He's drawing absurdly well. But if you're Pablo, that's exactly what you want to see, right? That's very, very good for him. And now, from Leonardo's side, he does not feel confident in what he's going to draw at all. Just ends up promoting the Magnemite, and yeah, there he evolves the Magnezone and just plays the Sycamore.
I think he drew a Cynthia for the turn as well, which is kind of kind of bad, but
yeah. I mean, you can't predict that though, can you? You got to play as if you don't know what the next card of your deck is, because you don't. So you have to assume the worst in that sense.
All right, off those 7 cards from Sycamore, did he actually get what he needed? Field Blower.
Oh, that's big. But does he have the energy to follow it up with and actually make it?
He needs a lot of energy.
He does. Oh, but he has a lot of energy. He has. He has 2, but he has a Mount Coronet.
There's 2 in the discard as well.
Well, there you go. That's fantastic.
Getting those energy cards.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got a Float Stone too, so he doesn't even need to attach to the active to retreat it. He's got it all.
Yeah, that's all you need, man.
So are we just going to see a
Sun's Eclipse, right?
Yeah, it's got to be, because you preserve the energy for next turn too.
Wow, that was a pretty good Sycamore from Leonardo right there.
Yeah, it was. And actually, no, quite cleverly, he's going to go for the Meteor Tempest here because he knows there's another Espeon on Pablo's bench, so now that won't be doing as much damage to him.
Yeah, well, essentially, the 2 biggest attackers Pablo has against him is cards that do more damage for the amount of energy you have attached. And you can always save that Sun's Eclipse for your next knockout if Pablo decides to knock out something this turn.
Yeah, exactly. So actually really, really clever there from Pablo, who in response to a Field Blower of his own saying, nah, I don't want you getting back 2 energy every single turn. Get rid of that Mount Coronet, please.
Actually didn't discard the Float Stone on the Magnemite with the Field Blower.
He didn't as well, did he? Maybe, interesting, maybe he's worried about another tool going on it, perhaps?
Just looks like another metal Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's the replacement Float Stone on the Garbodor, turning on Garbotoxin again.
Yeah, so that's obviously pretty big as well. And he does have the Double Colorless in his hand, so he was able to attach it to the bench Espeon, and it will be able to do Psychic this turn. And then Pablo will just follow that up with a Cynthia.
Yeah, we actually see the Tauros GX in his hand before it got shuffled away. That's a card that is actually super powerful in this format, just because against Zoroark, they never really knock you out in one hit. But against a deck like this Dustmane Necrozma, they always knock you out in one hit.
Yeah, they do. So that's something you got to sort of really be careful of. And yeah, really here, Leonardo just wants to find a Field Blower next turn. That's it. We're going to be really wanting to just recharge that Dustmane Necrozma and just keep getting 2-price knockout after 2-price knockout. The saving grace for him is that because he had the foresight to not fall into that temptation using the lower cost GX tactic knockout, the Pablo was not able to knock out the Dustmane Necrozma in turn.
Pablo actually had it too if he did.
Yeah, because he had the choice band, which he would have needed. So very, very good. Now, there's a Cynthia, Ultra Ball, Energy Retrieval, but no Field Blower yet.
Yeah, and energy retrieval, while good, getting back those metal energy in the discard, with Garbotoxin active, they're just useless right now in your hand, so might as well just try to draw it later with a field blower.
Yeah, exactly. And it's better to keep it as an item in your deck so that there's less for you to draw through instead of preemptively getting back the energy, because well then you're getting another item in your discard pile for potentially no benefit. So very clever to play the Cynthia first. And
it looks like no field blower from Leonardo this turn.
No, that's really unfortunate. Although he does draw a rescue stretcher, which is actually pretty good for him because he can now use that to get back the Dustmane Necrozma, and now he will have a follow-up attacker when this Dustmane in the active inevitably goes down.
Yeah, energy attachment for the turn on the bench, Dustmane Necrozma, and a pass.
Now, what can Pablo do to capitalize on this? He's got the KO seal to that, so he doesn't need to worry about that. But
got the KO. Hopefully try to end his opponent. I don't think he has access to that, though. Only a Cynthia in his hand. But I would even think about saving some of the tools in his hand as well, just in case another field blower comes down. Then you're like, well, okay, well, I need this Garbotoxin next turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that something we haven't talked about too much, actually, but it's something important to mention at the highest levels of play. Sometimes it's not correct to play a supporter every single turn. Sometimes it makes more sense to just hold your cards and just wait until your opponent does something, which means that you need to use something which you already have, and instead of just like playing a supporter because you have one and you can only play one a turn and feel like you have to.
Yeah, especially if your deck is fragile to end like Pablo's is. So that's the debate that's going through his head right now. It's like, okay, what do I need right now, and how can I get punished?
Yeah, and those are the sorts of calculations we'll be making. But after considering all of that, he does decide it is worth it, and he does play the Cynthia.
Yeah, attaching that choice band and the energy to the Tapu Lele on the bench.
So with that now, Leonardo has to potentially be a bit more careful about how much energy he's committing, because it's like you said before, Jeremy, all of Pablo's attackers punish the opponent based on how many energy is is on the opponent's Pokemon. So being able to threaten that makes Leonardo have to think a little bit more about what he wants to do with his own attachments.
All right, so it's on Leonardo now. He just has that Dustmane Necrozma and 2 Magnezone in play.
I mean,
looking through his discard too, he's played a lot of items.
He has. He does have the field blower as well. That's a really, really important find. So he's actually able to get more value out of it as well, because of course he can discard that choice band on the bench Tapu Lele as well. And was that an energy retrieval he just played?
It was.
It was. So that's it. He can actually now just go for the Sun's Eclipse, or if he wants to, or he could try and dig for a 4th energy to get to discard it. But no, he just goes for the Sun's Eclipse.
Well, this sets him up kind of perfectly, because Sun's Eclipse, take the knockout, go down to 2 prizes, and then let's hope I can knock out your Tapu Lele next turn. Yeah,
and actually not only that, thinking about it, I think he's realized at this point that now is the least risky point in time to go for the Sun's Eclipse, because there's a lot less on Pablo's side of the field that can actually threaten a knockout on the Dustmane Necrozma based on the energy, given the fact that this one doesn't have any damage on it already. It wasn't softened up by that Divide GX.
All right, but here's that choice band coming down. Energy as well. Choice band on the Garbotoxin. And then an end. So end to 2, Garbotoxin active. He needs, to win the game, he needs a Guzma, a Way to Retreat, and energy.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask for, especially given that he actually Leonardo only plays 1 Floatstone, and he's already been through it. So he would have to find maybe like a Pokemon with 1 retreat to bench and attach energy to that maybe. It's very, very strong combo from Pablo. And does Leonardo draw out of it is the question we need to ask ourselves. He's not.
I see a rare candy in his hand and maybe like a Duskmane. That's not what you want to see in the last few turns of the game. The Professor's Letter.
But that's not going to do it for him. He's going to play it just to thin it out. He can use it to actually just KO the Garbotoxin, the Trash Launch Garbodo if he wants to, but then something else comes in. Oh no, actually.
Well, there's the Tapu Lele.
But it only has 1 energy on it.
Man, now it depends on what's in Pablo's hand.
Yeah, it does. And
Oh, it's a Parallel City and a Garbotoxin Garbodor.
wow.
So if he would have attacked, oh, he drew the energy.
Okay. But that could have been a really, really risky but cool play if he had actually gone for that. Having said that, I mean, Pablo draws the energy, which is obviously good for him, but he hasn't quite sealed this yet.
There's 9 items in the discard, I believe, from what I counted.
Yep, so that will be a knockout into the Magnezone. Now, can Leonardo find the last pieces of the puzzle he needs?
Field Blower and 3 energy.
And it looks like the answer is no.
All right, so now we're going to game 3, but we're going to game 3 with 5.5 minutes left.
Yeah, that's really not ideal. This is exactly not the situation that these two wanted to find themselves in. You know, 5 minutes left on the clock and 1 game apiece.
Yep. And both players, remember, are at 5-1-1 for their record today. A tie would not knock them out of the tournament, but that would mean they would have to win both of the next rounds.
Well, I mean, one more round, right? Because this is round 8, so there's only one more.
Oh, this is round 8.
Yeah.
They'd have to win one more round.
Yes, yeah. So, but it does put extra pressure on them because, you know, ideally, if one of them is able to win now, they'd say, right, that's it. I can just, you know, ID my last round and then I'm done. I can make it through to day 2. This potentially puts a lot more pressure on both of them going into round 9.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we could see a quick Espeon GX divide. Could see even just a quick Magnezone and a bunch of energy. Really depends, but if both players get that Bridget out turn 1, then I think we're in for a long game.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this goes to a long game, this goes into a unended game, you know, because if both these decks set up, they're not going to be, you know, powering through so quickly that they'll be able to finish in 5 minutes. That's not the nature of how these two decks operate.
Looking at the prizes for Pablo, both Espeon GX. He only plays the 2.
Oh my goodness. If this game could go on longer, that could have been potentially absolutely huge. It looks like Leonardo does start off with a mulligan, though.
I think this is probably the best hope for Pablo now is like, yeah, mulligan, you can take more time. Like,
yeah.
Of course, he doesn't know that.
No.
But
I mean, yeah, that could be potentially very tumultuous because this now opens up another situation for Leonardo to win. If Pablo doesn't have, say, any other Pokemon, but he has a Psychic Energy, he might still feel safe. So you think, oh, okay, I haven't got another bench, but I can just evolve to Espeon, and I've got 200 HP. He won't be able to knock that out in 1 hit. But then he'll do that, see he has no Espeons, and then think, oh dear, I might actually just get donked here.
all right, looking at the prizes for Leonardo, not too bad. We do have a Field Blower in there, but I don't think the game's going to go long enough to actually matter for that.
No, he has prizes 1 of Magneton, but that's also something else which, again, probably won't matter too much in the long run. So it looks like...
Turn 1 Skyla from Leonardo with a Tapu Lele start and... Oh no, an Eevee start.
Oh boy. could Clairvoyancy...
Oh no.
Yeah.
Looking at his hand too, I think there's an N, but everything else is just not playable. There's a Psychic Energy.
So we've had a few instances of accidental clairvoyancy on the Latin American stream so far. Could this be happening again?
Commentators curse everyone.
Yeah, commentators absolutely. That's the right term for it.
And it could be even more punishing if Leonardo decides to attach energy to the active Tapu Lele as well.
Yeah, because then he's only 1 manual attachment to... Oh, okay. No, you can't do that.
Oh, he drew Tapu Lele. It's fine, everyone. It's fine. You can get off the edge of your seats now.
Yeah. Just take it, take a deep breath, exhale. It's that's a little bit anticlimactic. I'm almost a bit sad, actually. It would have been a fun finale, but no. It looks so. If this game goes the way we think it might, then yeah, it's probably going to end in a tie, folks.
Yeah, looks. Oh, yeah. Both Espeon are prized.
Yep. That's the truth of it. Sorry to say, Pablo. Now,
failed to search, but thankfully he does have that Tapu Lele.
So he will be able to use that to grab himself Bridget from the Wonder Tag, or another supporter if he wants to, but the Bridget is what he goes for, and yeah, able to fill up his bench nicely. So yeah, this game will pan out like a normal game, and because it's going to pan out like a normal game, it's not going to end. It does offer Tauros, though, interestingly. Maybe thinking to himself that, you know, if I want to have something which my opponent's kind of scared of hitting, but the thing is, Taurus is really good, effective against these decks which normally take 2-hit knockouts instead of 1-hit knockouts. So, and that's exactly the opposite of what Leonardo's deck is most of the time.
Yeah, so looking at Leonardo's hand, I do see a rare candy. It'll be interesting to see if he has the Magnezone in play, because remember, he did Skyla for an Ultra Ball, for that Magnemite.
He did do that, didn't he? So there it is.
Because if there's enough, like, if he goes through fast enough, there could be enough time, but oh, no, he didn't have it. All right.
So maybe he just thought to himself that he wanted to make sure he had enough Pokemon to... He maybe didn't want to risk playing the N and then not drawing a Pokemon, so the Skyla guarantees him the Ultra Ball for a Pokemon. Although he could still draw Rare Candy Magnezone off this.
Rare Candy Magnezone, couple energy.
And that's a knockout on the Eevee. Let's see, does he get it? No, he does get Dustmane Necrozma. But not much else, maybe? Oh, a second Dustmane Necrozma, and just a pass.
Yeah, his hand's not actually very good right now. He does have the Skyla next turn for Rare Candy Magnezone, but no energy and just that lone energy retrieval. But wow.
Oh.
Guzma bringing up that Magnemite, taking the knockout with Horn Attack. Tauros GX coming in clutch right now, but I think it's a little too late.
Yeah, it is too little too late.
See, our timer has run out. We'll get confirmation if time was actually called. It was, and there we go. They just decide, yeah, it's not going to end. We're going to take the tie, and let's hope we win next round.
Yeah, so, yeah, unfortunate for it to end that way. It was a really great series, actually, for the first 2 games. Really good, nice back-and-forth games, really showing that both these decks have the metal to compete against each other, and metal to compete against each other. That wasn't intentional, I swear. I'm full of them today. So, yeah, but no, really, really great to see these 2 decks and these 2 players go at it. And